Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Talkin Kop. I'm Gav. This is Emmet. Emmet. I said Kev yesterday. Sorry about that. And this is Ashley. And this is another video. We are in Liverpool, our last day of the trip. And on our Patreon show yesterday, we were talking about quite a few bits. But one of the main things that come up was just how Slot turns things around. I should be looking at that camera up there somewhere. But how Slot turns things around. And we kind of looked and we said, well, what is it? It's probably what players can he bring in? It's probably how he gets the players to buy in, how he gets the fans back on side, and probably one or two other things. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go through them, Ashley and Emma, and see where we end up. Throw your things in the chat. Throwing things in like he can't, he's clueless. James Heady. We can't just shout that and finish up the pod, but I know you're upset, and that's absolutely fine. But we're going to start with players that he needs to bring in. Emma, I'll come to you because you're holding the mic. It's for me. It's I was saying to you earlier. If you have Salah and Robertson in this squad, you're probably too short. When they leave, you're probably 4 or 5. We go to 6. Two questions: do 5 or 6 players galvanise this squad, and can you attract 5 or 6 players with A, the football that's been this season, and B, the fact that this manager at the moment sits with 13 months left on his deal? I think he might have signed on the 1st of June, actually. So he's just over 14 months left on his deal, or nearly 12, right? Where are you on this? Is that Garvin? His contract? Where are you on this? Because I think there's so many elements to this of him trying to turn it around. And by the way, to clarify, I think all of us here, to a certain extent, are like, I don't know if we can turn this around, but we have to ask the question, how can he? All right, we're not here saying, let's turn it around, it's going to be amazing. Don't take it the wrong way. We're just asking if he was to turn it around and he was to stay as reported, where it could go. So,
I think you said yesterday, Gav, that I think the only way he kind of turns it around is he needs to get. So it's going to be not very easy, but it's easy enough to try and sell a dream to players that are coming in. And I think I said yesterday as well that all these players are on social media. They see everything that's being said. They've seen Salah's post. Maybe it's probably a little bit more difficult to sell the dream than when he sold it to Verts and to Isaac last year. But he needs to put his hands up and admit to mistakes and stop this injury thing. Yes, we were hit by injuries, but there's a lot of things that he's done in the last season that haven't helped the way things are with the team. So to go to the point where you said we need 3, possibly, I think maybe 3 or 4 without Salah and Robbo going. With Salah and Robbo going, I think maybe 5, because I think he's already said that Tsimikas, even though he's probably not going to fill us all full of a lot of hope, for the playing time that Robbo got this season, you're probably okay with Tsimikas being a backup.
But are you?
Well, like elsewhere.
But just on the Tsimikas thing, right? We're in last summer, we're bringing Milos Kerkez in.
Mm-hmm.
You have Robertson and Tsimikas there. They do everything they can to get Tsimikas out of the football club. They end up, they can't sell him, they loan him to Roma. I don't even know how it goes, but it doesn't. I don't think it turns out well. We're letting Robertson go, and we're bringing this guy in. And I think they looked at Robertson and went, he's 33, probably wants to keep playing. I know Tsimikas might settle for that squad part of it, but we've seen in the title winning season, he loves changing his fullbacks mid-game to give us a new dimension. I'm not absolutely slating Tsimikas, by the way, but you know, for all intents and purposes, he's a good backup left. But that's not the impression the football was 12 months ago.
But they've given us for the last few years is that we'll always be light or lighter in certain areas than others, and I think that maybe left
Okay.
back is probably going to be that place
Yeah.
next year, because he actually, now again, we're taking into consideration here that Slot's staying, because he said in an interview recently that he has Simicast coming back in. He did mention that he's going to have to try and see if they can come up with a replacement for Salah, but didn't mention that about getting a replacement for Robbo, because he did mention Simicast is coming back.
Okay.
So at that point then I'm thinking you're looking for a replacement for Salah. Now if you look at this season and the amount of times that he's played for Frimpong, I'd say it's probably 50-50 between playing right wing and playing right back. So are we going to cut corners there and use him as one of the right wingers? At that point, then you're probably, and I would say even if he wasn't planning on playing him right wing and he had planned on playing him right back, him and Bradley, you probably need somebody else that can also play right back, not necessarily a recognised right back. This year was probably Gomez, but I think Gomez probably leaves this summer. I think he deserves to go and play football if he can stay fit somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's where if Slot is staying, that I think you see us going back in for Gertrude, and that has played under him before. We already went for him in January and then couldn't get a deal done. So I think that's probably what you see being done to cover the likes of right back, centre half, and I know he's played defensive midfield. Probably hasn't played a whole pile. But do you want to get in a player that has played in the Premier League or been at a Premier League club but couldn't actually get playing time for Sunderland?
No, I think, like, I don't want to go into names of players, because that'll be a show another day if we all names. So what? My only question is
Where do we
on
need
it is, no, not even where we need to strengthen. Do you think 6 players, or let's say 5 players, do you think 5 players galvanise the squad? Okay, and do you think we can attract the 5 players with the manager sitting on the season he's had, the body language of the rest of the squad, which we get on to, and 12 months left on his deal?
No, but that's a short answer, and we need to fill some time on this show.
We don't need to. I can just go back to drinking a pint. It doesn't bother me.
I don't think Slot. I don't think Slot can, because the players that are there, and the vast majority of them. So let's say we're going to bring in 5 or 6, which means that you having a squad of about 22, 23 players, and a core group of about 16, 17 players. The vast majority, or the highest percentage of those, already have formed their opinion on Slot. They've already formed their opinion on the type of football that Slot plays. So unless he, like you mentioned yesterday, gathers them all together, which is going to be very difficult because most of them, well, he's already pissed off on a flight to somewhere anyway, which is fully entitled to do. The season is over. But he needs to own up to certain things. He needs to say, okay, I got this wrong. This is what we're going to work on. Not the ideal summer to do it because of a World Cup. How's he going to get time to play? Like, most of the players are going to be off at a World Cup, and if not, on holidays. So the World Cup doesn't finish on the 19th of July, I think. So, and we probably have a few players that might go deep in it. Germany, Verts probably go deep in it. Isaac
France
probably won't. Will the Dutch go deep in it? We've got about 17 players from Holland, don't we?
Yeah, you've got France.
France.
Well, Canate. That's if he signed the contract. But
he needs to completely reassure the players, or completely put their hands up and say, and don't get, we're not, I'm not, I'm not putting the whole blame on Slot, because players are well in terms of look like lack of effort. So we need to have they need to have a conversation, say, right, yesterday, this is what I got wrong. This, I shouldn't have done that. And it's a fresh. So I think myself and Shawnee have spoken last Sunday.
do they galvanise the squad? They're badly needed, but do they galvanise the squad? And if they galvanise the squad, do you think you can attract them? Because my main issue here is that players looking at Liverpool this season, the body language of these players, right? Even mitigating circumstances incorporated into that. My thing here is that my problem here is that you bring these players in, fine, but these players coming in, they look and go, them lads look like they're having the worst time of their lives playing this fucking game of football that they're being asked to play. And I'm signing for a manager that's literally, you know, he's in territory where he can easily fucking do mutual agreement and costing the club little money because there's only 12 months left. I just think it's an awful mess off the back of a season. Like, it'd be less of a mess if they turned around and went, we're signing for another 3 years. We've realised our mistakes. Here's the plan. But until the day comes that they commit to Arne Slot in a proper way, I think it's just the scenario and the elements of this summer are just horrendous.
I think I said yesterday that, you know, the problem with where we are right now is that we're missing pieces of the puzzle. We don't have answers to questions that we have. You know, I'm listening to you guys talk about, you know, oh, it's just a few players here and there that we need to add. Even if you talk about 6 players, I'm looking right now at our squad and the numbers that they actually put up this year. And we have 20 players, just 20, that got actual minutes. And when I say minutes, I mean like over 200 minutes.
Yep.
If you go a little bit further into that and you say, okay, well, who has played, like for you, if you're going to qualify someone as a starter, what percentage of the season do they have to play?
I would say a starter for this team in the league would probably have to do 38 games, 3,600 minutes, 3,400 minutes. I would say around 2,700 minutes.
Okay, so how many? Basically, what I'm asking is how many players do you think that we need? Like,
I think
how many players do we need that need to play at least like 60% of the games? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, I would think I definitely think you're one, if not 2 attackers. You're bringing 6 in. I think you'll probably need a midfielder and a defender, all of which would have to play, in my opinion, somewhere over 2,500 minutes.
Okay.
For Liverpool.
Because right now, and I guess this is what I'm getting at is currently we're running with 14 players. 14 players that have played kind of over that 30-ish% mark. Everyone else, minimal minutes, like 200, 600, 500, everyone else. It's 14 players into the absolute fucking ground. So you're talking to me about like, oh, well, we're going to add a few players here and there. Tsimikas is not going to any sort of difference to that allocation of minutes. He didn't last year. You know, he barely played him last year, if we're being completely honest. And he's 2 years late. He's 2 years older.
I think the Tsimikas one is the fullback one is slightly different for me in terms of, in normal circumstances, you will go in and you go, that fullback there is going to play. It's, if my maths is right, it's 3,420 minutes is a full season. Okay. 38 games at 90 minutes, right? I think that's about right. In the fullback position standard, you will probably say that lad there is going to play 2,800 minutes, and the other lad is going to get 600 minutes, right? But in Liverpool's case, you're probably dropping down to 2,200 against 1,400 because they love to change them. He loves to change them and give 60 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes, and he can move them around. The Tsimikas one is worrying because they tried actively to get rid of him, and now they've come in and gone, a year down the road, we feel Tsimikas is a better option because he probably gives us less headaches in terms of playing time. But is the quality there against Robertson? And if the quality is there the same as Robertson, you haven't improved anything. All you've done is give yourself one less headache in terms of someone knocking on your door for playing time.
It's not a headache though. That, like, for me, if you're putting, let's say, whether it's Chiesa, whether it's Endo, whether it's Tsimikas, those are placeholder players. If they're not getting minutes, there's no point in having them in the squad. No point whatsoever. Absolutely not. And that has been the issue of this season. You heard Slot yesterday. I know that a lot of us don't agree with, his answer of what's wrong with the season injuries. But if that is the answer of what's wrong injuries, well, hey, how are you going to mitigate for that next year? Because you're not mitigating for that by having a really fucking tiny squad. If you're only signing 2 players, as is maybe reported, you better believe you're getting fucking injuries. This isn't the Eredivisie. Like, I understand that we can keep players fit in the sense of, actually, for Liverpool, it's not too bad with muscle injuries. But that's not real life. Things happen. You get ACLs, you get, knee injuries. You have numerous players of that 14 that you're going to be counting on that are coming back from season-long injuries, potentially career-ending injuries.
So if we take it that, well, the Ekatike one is a bit of an outlier because that's going to go deep into next season, I would have thought, right? So if you know what he has, he's hoping that Alisson and Marmadashvili are fit, Bradley and Frimpong are fit, though he doesn't like playing Frimpong right back anymore. You have your Kerkez, you have your Simicas. He's hoping you have it. VVD, Kanate, Gomez, Leone, Jacque, right? Then he goes into midfield and you're sitting as you were. And then up front, your Gakpo and Gamoa, you're gonna have Chiesa, you're gonna have Isaac as it stands, literally Ekatike aside for a minute. What I'm saying is that you keep right.
No.
Yeah, most of them are fit. But saying, what can we attract this season? Because we always talk about building on stuff and building on it. Go to the season you build on it. We haven't built on fuck all, and our building is basically when we have all these fit. But it's still kind of shallow because when we had them all fit, and we find 1 or 2 injuries. What I'm saying is, can he this summer galvanise this squad with 6 signings, or is he going to have to? Are you going to get your top targets going? You don't know what's going on at that football club. I'm okay, lads. Thanks. And we end up going down a list rather than going for the spoken about the half. So he must be confident in who he's going to bring in.
I mean, I think we have Champions League football. That was a big deal to get Champions League football. But at the end of the day, it's Liverpool Football Club. You can recruit players of a certain caliber no matter what. You know that Chelsea's been able to do it. You know that Manchester United have been able to do it. I don't want to pay out the sums of like they do. But you can see that, even if you're not at the top of the tree, you can still get these players in. I don't think that we're going to be shopping like bargain basement players.
No.
That to me is not the issue. To me, the issue is, what if you're going to go and you're going to get, let's say the names that are floating out today are, Barcola and Diamande and things like that. Flashy, lovely, technical, whatever. None of them scream to me like hardcore workhorses. They don't. They scream kind of more of the same. And if you want, that's my biggest concern. So yes, we can get people through the door, but what's the overall kind of squad structure going to look like?
Well, let me ask you about the structure then. All right, and I'll pass it to Emmet then. Let's play the game and say we bring in 5 or 6 players. We attract 5 or 6 really top end signings.
Okay.
Or let's not say top end. Let's 5 or 6 players that we go perfect.
Sure.
Perfect for this squad. We absolutely need them 5. We have the numbers. Now, I want to ask you about the current players in this team because you can sign whatever you want, okay? How does he get the buy-in from your 14 players? It might be 12 if you take out Alisson and Robertson.
Yep.
But how does he get the buy-in from if he brings in 6 and he has 14 there and 3 on the outside, kind of on the fringe, which might go, well, let's say there's 22 players. He brings in 6 and he's 16 remaining, okay? How does he get the buy-in for 16 of these players that have gone through this season, seen all the rigmarole around the football club, seen all the rigmarole around the standard of play? They're there every day. They know what they're being asked to do. How does he get the buy-in? Because in my opinion, the only way he gets the buy-in is he sits those 16 down, right? and says to them, lads, look, the season has been poor, okay? There's been injuries, there's been mitigating circumstances, there's been injuries, there's been losses of form, we've been unlucky, whatever. But I think this is my thoughts. I don't think I made the right decisions along the time. I need to learn from that. You've done a really good job for me in very tough circumstances, and maybe I didn't put you in the best positions across the season, but we plan to do A, B, C, D, and E, and I want to go into next season doing this, and this is my promise to you. Is that the only way he gets the buy in here? Because if he stays quiet on this squad, I don't care if you bring fucking a Maradona regen into this team, or a fucking Baresi or a Maldini regen into this team, or you go and sign the next Rodri to go into midfield. I don't care what happens. Them players will be looking, going, well, he's pinning it all on these lads now, and basically, this is everything, and we're over here after doing the dog work for a year, and we're just being told, yeah, get on with it. He's gonna have to put out an olive branch here, because the body language of that team is deplorable.
I mean, the body language was deplorable. And I think that you could visually see the weight of the world on those players yesterday. And there was one thing that you said there that I'm going to latch onto before I pass the mic over to Emmett here. And it involved positions. You said the word positions. And I think that if I was going to sit down, if I was Arne Slot, I mean, God forbid, if I was Arne Slot and I was sitting down with those players, I would want, as a player, to hear, I'm not going to be fucking around with your positions next year. It's not going to be, square pegs, round holes. Szoboszlai, you're not going to be playing right back. Szoboszlai, you're going to be playing exactly where I want you to play. Frimpong, we bought you as a wing back. You're going to play there. All the things. I want to see and hear that from the manager. I don't want to, if you're going to start fresh, if you are going to buy new players, are going to supplement, you better damn well do it in a way that those other players are able to shine. Because I don't think that Florian Wirtz decided to sign on for this team to be, fucked off on the left wing or to play as a false nine. Like, he could have gone anywhere he wanted in the entire world. Tell him where he's playing and stick with him there. Same thing with, Isak, with Ekitike, with all of these players. Build whatever the fuck you're building around their strengths rather than, I'm going to cobble this together because I'm done with the Dutch football model. And I think that's the biggest problem. He wants everyone to be able to play everywhere. Fuck that shit, honestly. Like, for me, if you're going to build it in a way that supports every single one of those players, and then they'll buy into your system, because I think every one of them are probably sick and fucking tired of playing, here, there, and everywhere.
Does he get them? How hard does he have to work here to get these back on side?
Extremely hard, and just something that Ashley said there about playing players in a position. You'll probably remember, and people listening will probably remember, Nagelsmann comes out before Wirtz signs for Liverpool and says that he felt that the move to Liverpool was probably a really good move because Liverpool will play Wirtz in his position. Have we played Wirtz in his position this season?
No, I think on paper you could say he's in his position. My thing with Wirtz is that you can put anywhere in any position, but it'd be like saying to Salah, it'd be like saying to Salah, I'm going to put you in this position, and then we're just going to lash balls at your head. Where you're a target man. I'm not saying he's done that, but you can literally go and be a target man, and it's like, okay, but you need to put people in the position, and from that position, you need to be able to play to their strengths, and I don't think we do either.
But I think with
battery on my laptop's about to go.
Oh, great
class, isn't it?
And
Some crack.
charger.
Have you got a charger?
Yeah, there's a charger up behind you there.
Okay.
We'll grab it now in a second.
Right.
But I think with Wirtz is that type of player where you could nearly almost say that he doesn't. You can give him the freedom to not have a position.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? He needs to be given the freedom. He pops up here, he pops up there, and that's just the way. But in order to allow him to do that, it's the players behind him that need to be like Ashley said there, is you kind of nearly need workhorses. Like, I know we've all dogged Salah a little bit the last season or so, but like you heard Robbo talk about him, he's the first in the gym, he's the last out of the gym. Robbo, in terms of leadership, whatever about replacing the positions, I think personalities and standard setting, without trying to sound like Salah, that's what you need.
You need
lads that are hungry, and I'm not saying that the players are at the club at the moment are not hungry, but you go back and you look at when we made the signings of Salah, when we made the signings of Mane, they were good players where they were playing, right? But they weren't excellent players, and they had that hunger to go to the next level. We need players with that hunger to go to the next level. You need kind of a Milner type workhorse in the team. Is Gravenberch that player? I think I love Gravenberch as a player, but I just don't think he's that workhorse that will do it. I think he probably releases higher up on the pitch. Is probably what Slot tried this season, but you didn't have anybody to replace him in the defensive kind of mind in the team, and I think that's massive. And that's I'm not saying that's why we're looking at Wharton, and I know you like Baleba, but you need somebody like a cart horse that's going to do that donkey work in the six to allow Wirtz to release, or to allow Wirtz to play in that kind of no particular position and float around the place. Is the laptop charging?
No, we've broken the laptop. No.
No. Are you turning it on or turning it back off?
You got a long lead, have you? Yeah, she's just turning it on and off. Yeah, could be that lead.
But that's what I think. Whatever about replacing Robbo and Salah's position, I think we need to replace their standards more so than anything else.
Yeah.
Within the team.
Okay.
He's
going to go and get a charger. The laptop said it was absolutely fine, and now it's not fine. I think it might be that late. That's the problem. But Emmet's going to find me one. Look, we'll stick with it, and I want to move on to the fans.
Yeah.
You know, because when you think about it, you look and you say, you know, we can talk about players, we can talk about signings, we can talk about the manager, we can talk about decisions, but you know, and I know you're a big advocate about the Red Sox, and they've been very
advocate is a strong word.
No, I don't know. What I mean is, you're an advocate for the belief of FSG when you watch them. You know,
yeah,
and they will look at this and go, it's absolutely fine. Let's keep moving on, boom, 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 and then they'll just crush this guy at any time that they need to, and they'll move on from there. I think this might be the hardest way back.
I
think this might be the hardest way back.
So I was having this discussion earlier, and I was thinking about sort of in there. I was thinking about it, and look, like, yes, FSG have a high tolerance for pain. They're not going to regularly fire coaches willy-nilly. They will sit with them for as long as they can, but that doesn't mean that they have an absolute infinite tolerance for pain. Like, there is a point where they will pull the plug. However, you know, and no one's going to want to hear this, and I'm not advocating for it, but if you sat down Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards and the whole crew at the beginning of this year, and you said, you know, not only are you going to deal with a player passing away, I'm not going to harp on that. We've done that to bits. Not only are you going to deal with that, you're going to deal with, you know, legends falling out of form. You're going to deal with like a massive transition of new players coming from, you know, outside leagues. You're not going to have the fitness from a preseason. You're going to be dealing with like this transition between your old kind of, you know, your old system of basically your 4-3-3, which I think is transitioning into something else. And if you sat them down and you were like, you know what? Not only are you going to win the Premier League last year, but you're also going to make the championship, you know, or the Champions League this year. Yeah. I think they'd shake their hands. I think they'd all shake hands on that. And I know that we as fans don't like that. We as fans demand more. We ask for more. We want them, you know, in the finals of the Champions League. We want them like, you know, at the very top of the table. But John Henry's on record. And again, this is Red Sox, but he's on record saying, you know, fans can't expect FSG to compete for trophies every single year. We cannot do it. He's on record saying that. And granted, you know, take it out of context if you want with Liverpool, but, you know, for them, it's about how do we continue to build this squad, keep them up at the top, sort of competing, quote unquote, which means different things to everyone. And how do we do that in a sustainable way that's not going to drain the club? So that, you know, we will build. And I do think, you know, and again, I know no one wants to hear this, but they are building something. We don't know what the fuck they're building yet, but they are building something. I do think they are. Like, I do think there's a plan. But we just don't know what the fuck it is.
I think when you look at this team, I think it's hard to argue that the players can't compete every season. I think it's a hard argument to make that you go, this squad can't compete every season. Now, we'll always have the discussions about, this player, we need that, we need something on the wing, we definitely need something on the right wing this summer. There's always that. It's going to come. Like, even if you look at PSG could win the Champions League next week and go, we need 2 more here.
They built that over 7 years.
But they have, they absolutely have.
Blew it up.
Well, they blew it up to a point where it blew up in Klopp's tenure. And Klopp starts the rebuild with the midfield when he brings in your Szoboszlai, he brings in your McAllister, he brings in your Endo, he brings in your Gravenberch. He does all that in the midfield. I think he's up front. I think the club have been a little bit hesitant, and at the back, I think the same. But they've been building something, and the Jack A signing proves that. The problem here is that I'd argue that if we had Arne Slot at the start of the next season, unless he does a massive U-turn and says, lads, we're going back to intense. We're going back to intensity. We're going back to high press. We're going to make it a bit of a crazy game of football. We back ourselves in this. We're going to go back to what you are all used to. And forget the legs for a minute and miles in the legs. Go back to what you know. Because when you go from that intensity to the passiveness that we've gone to, it's so hard. It's so hard to concentrate. Do you know what I mean? It's so hard to be what you're used to being. And then when you add all the fact in that, the passiveness now takes out the risk. It now takes out the quickness. It takes out the looking for verts, the runners off verts. It takes out Isak running behind, space to make running behind because we're just bombarding teams. I just think when it comes down to it, the fans, I think if we start next season, like the season just gone, and we're winning games, and you kind of go, we're winning, but a bit more there. We can get better. I think they'll take that. But as soon as this slows down and becomes easy to play against, I think he's done. And that might be his fantasy to play that sort of football. But if he thinks PSG are his model, they don't slow down.
No.
They play at a fucking 100 miles an hour.
And zip the ball around.
They zip it around. They're quick. They get into. They're brave in the positions they take up.
And they
the
drop
passes they
players
make.
who don't run.
Yeah, and they just go bang, bang, bang. But I just think you, out of everything, Emmet, I think the fans getting back on side might be his hardest job.
I think I mentioned it on the show yesterday. Like, has a manager ever turned a fan base back around in their favour from this position?
That choice or stupid?
Brave for making the choice of
to continue. Again, we don't know this.
Look, he's probably never going to turn around and resign because you give up any kind of rights then to money. I thought coming towards the end of the season, it was always going to be a handshake, gentleman's agreement. He's been offered to go back to Ajax. He wants to get closer to his family, all this kind of stuff. Ajax. But I think that was an easy way for the club to so we're not sacking him and he's not resigning. We've come to an agreement. Because we don't like to be seen as being a sacking club. I think when we sacked Houllier, it was the first time we sacked a manager in 59 years or something like that. And that's what I don't want to say we pride ourselves on it, but we don't seem to be a sacking club. My issue is like you said there, Gav, this PSG model. But I love that you can be passive the way he wants to be passive, but move the ball quicker. And we're being passive, but then we're also being passive when we're moving the ball. So you don't necessarily need to be all out heavy metal football, but zip it around and stretch the teams. And that's what PSG do. Any player can pop up in any position. And I know you kind of touched on that. Actually, that Slot wants all players to be able to play in any position. And this is his dream. But look, he doesn't have the players for it. Like some of these players are brought in. Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch, all brought in before his idea came to fruition. So when you look at it, the players that he's brought in, realistically, has he actually brought them in or has Hughes brought them in? There should be the only players that are designed to play this style of football that he has this vision of.
Yeah, but the quality of player we have I don't think you need to be like Steve Murphy says. They're playing with same intensity as needed, but I don't think we need to go. We go back to crazy pressing. I'm not even asking for crazy pressing. I'm just asking for one of the midfielders to join the four attackers and make it 5, and basically say to ourselves, lads, we're going to make it really hard for them to get out, and when we win it, we're going to kill them because we have got the players to move and pass and take risks, and we have a guy that can hit a through ball. We've a guy that can finish. We've guys that are assists. Like even if you take out Salah's goals, he's always go for an assist. Always, right? Now he's going to go, but that's all I want. Just can we, I'm not saying it has to be perfect and they never get in, but can we make it hard for them to progress up the pitch? And when we win it, can we be brave enough to say we've won it on the centre circle? And instead of it going, we've won it, play it to that fullback, he brings it over to Salah. Salah comes inside, we pass it around across, and they set back in the zone. Instead of saying, when we win it, I want that ball to Bertz, and then I want people running, fucking making runs across defenders, behind defenders, wide of defenders. Bertz might want to go by somebody, you give it to a winger, and the winger knows. If I go inside or outside here, I'm going to have an option on the edge of the box to bounce the ball off. I'm going to be, if I come inside and put it to the back post, I'm going to have 2 players there. If I go outside and stamming up across the box, I might have 3 because the midfielders joining in the box. If I go by a fella and we'll actually pull them back, there'll be a guy there. The amount of times I watched on Sunday, Mo Salah get the ball and try the most intricate fucking pass from the right wing to Gakpo.
Right in front of him, and it just
to Gakpo, and Gakpo standing on the edge of the D. And you're like, what is going on here? I think the lack of bravery in it is astounding.
But what you've just described there is what teams has been doing to us all season.
But
when we win this ball back and we become passive, what we do is and I'm shouting. I know it's YouTube and it's during the day, but I'm shouting at me fucking telly. I'm shouting at me fucking telly, going, why are we letting them get back into shape? We're winning this. They're out of shape. We become passive on the ball, and we allow them to get back into their shape, and that makes it harder to break down this low fucking block or whatever.
That's because, let me tell you what that is. That's because when we win the ball, we want to make sure that when we get into an attacking position, we're set for when we lose it, right?
Yeah, which is negative.
But when you watch the other day, Liverpool go down the wing, goes into the box. There's one player in the box, which is Gakpo. It drops to a Brentford centre back. He pops it to Gakpo, tries to press him. He pops it to Henderson. Henderson pops it back to the centre back. He brings it over to the fullback. The fullback turns and pings it 40 yards. And I think it was what's the lad in front from him? Not Sade, the other lad that's up front. Thiago.
Yeah.
Thiago takes it down the chest, 35 yards, and Liverpool's goal. There was 4 passes. Now, I have no problem if you don't want to put anyone in the box, but fuck me when it comes out of the box. Where all the lads that aren't in the box should be somewhere there.
Yeah.
And what they end up doing is, and watch it every time a team goes to start playing out from the back from us, whether it's under a bit of pressure or none at all, watch McAllister and Gravenberch. They're a mile away from each other because the press isn't there. They're trying to hold this side or hold that side. And I think the fans, like, I'm not messing with you. I watched that game and you were at it, but I thought the atmosphere was awful. It was just like a low hum of people nearly talking.
Slow motion. It was. I don't know if you recognize that, Emmet, because you were there as well. Like even the songs were in slow motion. Like every single thing that was happening in and amongst the fans, like it all reflects. You know, it all comes. It comes from the manager, then it goes down to the players. From the players, it goes into the fans. Like there were songs that were being sung that felt like, you know, when you turn on your phone for Spotify and you're like, I'm going to put it on 0.5 speed. That's what it felt like. And like you think about all of this and you're like, we're sitting here, we're talking about the press from the front. Like, I'm worried about our defense, guys. Like, we're not even touching on that. You know, I saw a stat today. I was just looking it up, and it was basically saying that the Jose Sa from Wolves faces less shots on target than Marmadashvili by a distance, a significant distance. And so, yes, we have this situation where we're not, you know, pressing from the front. Like our whole defensive structure comes from that press at the front.
Yeah.
And if that's not there, and then you move to midfield and there's no press in the midfield, because honestly, I think they're trying to do too many complex movements. They're rotating. They're meant to be passing players off to each other. Gravenberch is often stuck between a rock and a hard place because he doesn't know. It's too complicated. We're not making it easy for them. Giving players and this has happened to us so many fucking times. They are elite players. It doesn't matter if they play for Chelsea or Wolves or whatever. They are all elite players in the Premier League. If you give them 10 yards of space in any direction around them where they can pick their head up and ping a pass, it doesn't matter if you're playing a low block, a high block, or whatever. Those players will get that ball to someone dangerous. And that's what I was seeing yesterday or the other day. I was seeing players pick their head up and say, you know what? This is grand. I have all the time in the world to survey what I'm looking for. Absolutely, I'll pick out Thiago and he'll take it down because you know what? There's no pressure on me whatsoever. And the whole fucking ripple effect. And that's why our defense looks so fucking weak, because we were exposing them in a way that like I've never seen them exposed before. So this is a much bigger issue than just, you know, we need to add press from the front. This is a whole systematic fucking issue, top to bottom.
It's we're gonna finish up in the next few minutes, but
On that depressing note, I'm sorry.
no, that's absolutely fine.
She just brought me right down there,
Did
Gav.
she?
Oh,
It's fucking ruined the weekend.
I didn't even think it was that bad.
Sorry.
I thought we're gonna-
What it is.
How we're gonna be great next season.
Grand 2 players, we'd be brand new.
Well,
I think
tell
I'll-
us, right?
I think all we need is
One winger will be fine. Most
Yeah.
important, and one winger. Barcola and one
Okay, can I just say, and I've been to the upper and lower Anfield Road, and I actually thought, and I don't know whether you agree, Ashley, I thought an awful lot of the chants originated from the Anfield Road.
that's a big thing and
has,
reason.
has somebody said that they've moved a lot of season ticket holders?
Yeah, no, so-
Into-
Yeah, so what happened was I think a lot of people that were on the waiting list came in
Granted,
and
a
they've
thousand
and, they,
extra
and they've been
members,
down
yeah.
because I've been in the lower Annie near the corner flag at the Kenny, and the lads in there are all
That's
Scousers
off the
and
charts.
yeah, it's brilliant. But look,
They were trying, but it felt like pulling teeth. I gotta tell you.
yeah,
felt like
it
pulling
was
teeth.
it sounded difficult to be fair, but I think like we're planning on doing plenty of shows throughout the summer, and it will be on what players do we need, what players need to go, what you like to see. So we're going to do all that. We're going to do around the contract situation with slot, basically everything we've spoken about. We're going to do separate shows on the. But Derek says next season is going to be slot stacked around October. New manager in, then fighting for 4th or 5th. Another bad season. And I'm with Derek.
Oh, yeah.
And to be, let me be perfectly honest with you, because when you say something on these shows, someone comes back 9 months later and goes, "But you said," and you're not allowed to change your opinion. You have to die on a hill. That seems to be the thing in the world now, where you have to die on that hill. At this moment, I think if Slot stays, signs 4 or 5 players, gets them players to buy, gets the existing players to buy in, and turns that crowd at Anfield, fucking fair play to him, because that is one absolute mammoth job he's done. Now, I could be wrong. I've been wrong on loads of things. Unless he's sitting there going, lads, don't worry about it, because he's leaving, and you know, they're past it. We need something different. I'm going to bring these in. I'm going to get a few out. We're going to go in. We're going to play this system, and you know, we'll be able to, you know, handle a couple more injuries because of the way we're going to play and the personnel we have. Fair fucks to them, but history shows you when you have a manager on this sort of standing, it takes an awful lot to get him going in that trajectory, and it takes fuck all for him to go that trajectory. And at the moment, even if he's not going down, I think he's bottoming out, and there's probably the downward curve is probably a second. The upward curve is going to take an awful long time to get back up to. And I just think if he makes it past November, I think he's done unfucking believable. And I'd love him to, because it means he's signed the right players, he's galvanised the team, and we go, do you know what? We absolutely hammered you this season, and we were right to. But credit to you, when we all thought you should have went, you stuck at it, and you were proved right eventually. But I'm with Derek. I have a real worry that we get to an international break in fucking October, whatever the fuck it is, and they just pull the plug and go, no, we're going to try salvage this season. We're going to move on with somebody else. Is that where you were?
I said it yesterday. It's a carbon copy. They need to learn their lessons from summer 2015. If you look at everything that's matching up, Rodgers loses his last away game, 6-1, wasn't it, to Stoke?
Yeah.
Gerrard's leaving. We lose our last away game to Aston Villa this season with Robbo and Salah leaving.
Mm.
There's talk of Rodgers changing his backroom staff. There's talk of Slot
Yeah.
changing his backroom staff. It's like I just think it screams 2015, and I'm on record on one of these shows as criticising Arteta. For the last few years, what Arteta did was he had these players as backup players. He had a good squad, and he never used them. And I think what he's done this season is that he's actually rotated his squad really good, so that when they are needed, they can hit the ground running. I think Slot doesn't do that. So you've got Chiesa. I don't think Chiesa is probably good enough. Endo's not good enough. Who else have we got on the bench? The benches look awful. But I just don't think that he rotates enough. And I don't think he's given Chiesa enough game time. I know Endo was injured. Endo enough time so that when we do have these Neoni, he hasn't given him enough game time so that when an injury comes, he's ready. What these lads are doing is we get injuries and all of a sudden these boys haven't played football in about 6 months. They're not even playing for 23s or 21s or whatever it is. So I think, and the unfortunate thing is, and I'm a little bit embarrassed, is that I've absolutely slated Arteta the last few seasons, and I'm sitting here going, mocking his fucking catching because we're doing exactly this. You said it. We've slagged Manchester United for this before.
Yeah. I'm of the opinion
Fans turning toxic.
if this is happening to any of the top 6 club, we're laughing our fucking heads off.
And we have done.
Yeah,
we're
have
United.
done. We
have done with Arteta, and now all of a sudden we're having to take our own fucking medicine here. But for the life of me, I just hope they learn their lessons from 2015, because if everything's pointing exactly the same, and like was you say it was Tom? Derek. Sorry, Derek.
Apologies, Derek.
Sorry, Derek. It's pointing towards an October, November, probably September, October. What did Rodgers got the bullet last week in September or something like that?
Rafa had similar. Brendan did similar.
Yeah, so I think, and so's Derek there, that we're likely to be changing manager in the first 2-3 months of the season. And then what's happened is, and again, I have to get back to this rumours that Hughes is off the end of the transfer window. Go now.
Yeah,
why are you giving them extra?
But these feel like that little.
Those rumours they're not from anyone credible.
Yeah, I think that tasters. I think they're just.
Like, they're just out there.
I think the whole
clickbait
appointment of this guy from Holland feels like they're testing the water. The club are testing water, going, get that out there. What's the reaction? Oh, they're bringing him in. He's going to keep him for fuck's sake, and then they go, right. That gives us our measure. You know, the sort of way. Actually, I'll give you the last word.
Can I ask you a couple questions? It's not going to be a last word.
Interviewed now.
No, I just a couple questions.
Well, let me ask you this one first. Sure. Would you agree that the first thing Liverpool Football Club have to do, if they're going to back Arne Slot, is to announce before anything else happens, we are committed to this manager. We have extended his deal by 2 years. Because everything else is a nonsense.
I think so. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to hear that, but I do think that if you are going to back him, then back him. You know, put your money where your mouth is, basically, for lack of a better term. Emmet, you mentioned Arteta there, and you mentioned us kind of, slagging Arteta in years gone by. I'm going to throw these out here, not...
I know what you're going to say.
No, there's a few things. I'm going to throw these out here, and I know that the people that are listening are going to say, oh, fuck that. But I'm just devil's advocate again.
Oh, God.
So,
I
know. But
4 points there, John.
So Arteta, for example, he's on year 5, I believe, of the project at this point, right? Year 2, year 1, year 2 looked garbage. Absolute hot garbage. And there was a very, very long period of time where every single Arsenal fan was like, get him the fuck out of our club. It's way too big for him. He's not ready for it. Yes, he's Pep Guardiola's little prodigy, whatever. That entire fan base wanted him gone. And they gave him time, which is something that we don't do. These days, we don't give managers time. And again, I get it. I understand why everyone...
When you say we, fans, or we, Liverpool?
I say we, everybody in this entire Premier League structure don't give managers time. I say just in general. You think about kind of historically, outside of whether it was Klopp, whether it was Pep Guardiola, I think Marco Silva was there for a while. He's going to be leaving. There's very, very few managers who get time. But if you want to build something, is there an argument that you have to stick through this kind of period? I mean, and again, this is just kind of, if I'm trying to make an argument, which is the purpose of this conversation, right? If I'm trying to make an argument from the perspective of FSG and all the things, it's like, well, yes, like we all can see that this is not good enough. It's absolute hot garbage of football, but that's normal. It's normal for managers to have dips. Let me throw you out a stat here.
A 9-month dip.
Well, let me throw you out a stat, right? So 2022 to 2023, how many points off did we finish from fourth?
Oh,
You're the absolute Forrest Gump of all these things, right?
fuck off. Fourth place, 22, 23.
Yeah.
I think about 5.
Could have wondered you were pulling this out, Ashley, by the way.
All right. So it was 4 points. We finished 4 points off fourth.
Okay.
How many points did we finish off fourth this year?
Aston Villa
5.
It's 5.
5, 6.
Yeah.
You're talking a 1 point difference. And granted, yes, like the season sucks, so like the numbers change, right?
Yeah.
But you're talking 2022, 2023. Yes, we sit there, we look at Klopp, we're like, this was a fucking shit show of a season. We had all the defenders, we had all the things, we
had credit in the bank.
But let me.
I know he had credit in the bank, but at the same time, you're talking about a manager that has won the Premier League.
I know, but forget credit in the bank for a minute. I understand the 1 point and the this, that, and everything else, right? But my thing here is that I think you go back to 22, 23. You're probably, if I remember right, you're sitting there going, we're really good going forward. Jesus, but them lads in midfield, there's no, but the legs have fallen off Fabinho and Henderson, okay?
Okay.
And
so
now,
the legs have fallen off Mo Salah, right? The legs have fallen off of Gakpo.
Yeah, but I think if you showed me this Liverpool team playing in the style like last season where it was expansive, it was quick, and then I went, we're playing quick and expansive, and Salah's just got that yard where he's hurting us here at the minute.
Do you remember that season?
22, 23.
We sat back like to save our fucking lives.
Yes.
We would not go forward. It was
Correct.
literally, it was absolute, like
Correct.
backs to the walls. Robertson was there
because our midfield hadn't got the mobility.
There was no midfield.
To go and do what we're doing.
There was no vision at all.
But what I'm saying here is that when you can absolutely pinpoint the midfield as the issue in 22, 23, because the legs were going off it, which didn't make a flow, right? Okay, and my argument all season has been the midfield this season is not about legs, it's about setup, right? And yeah, you could say Salah fell off a cliff. Give me his, I don't know how many goals and assists he has this season. It's not.
I think it's about 23.
Okay, which is not a bad return.
No.
Okay, in the season what we've had. The problem here is that in 22, 23, you could absolutely pinpoint and go, yeah, credit in the bank like Emmet said, but taking that out of it, you can look and you can say, do you know what? Brilliant goalkeeper. Defense is really good, but they're under massive pressure because this midfield can't turn. And on top of that, we are afraid to go forward because this midfield can't turn. With this team, I look around and I go, that defense is awful. That midfield is awful. That tackling is awful in as a group. And when you look at it as a group, and when you look, why is it bad? We are so passive. And I've said it loads of times.
I agree with you.
But I've said it loads of times.
I'm trying to understand why we can sit here and we're.
But what I'm saying is, you said there, we sat back, and we tried to soak things up because we knew that midfield couldn't turn. That's absolutely fine. Go and do that. If Arne Slot turned around and said in January, we are fucked with injuries here, okay? What I'm going to do is, right, it doesn't have to come out and say it publicly, obviously, but if we could see with our eye, we're going, lads, we're fucked here. We've no attackers. They have no pace. What we're going to do is, we're going to... Or, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to press really fucking high. We're going to take pace out of the game. We're going to emphasize creativity more, which means make that pitch a lot smaller and one-touch football, and you don't have to be running 50 yards of ball in. If he done that plan, I'd be fine with him. I'd be sitting here going, Grant, I can see what he's trying to do with the circumstances he had. What we've ended up with is a team that goes out and I go, we can't score goals. We can't defend goals. We can't win second balls. We can't outrun teams. We're physically terrible, right? And all of these things mixed together, whether you tell me a player's fallen off a cliff or not, right? Okay, it's down to the manager.
I get that.
Now,
I'm
don't
not
get me wrong.
arguing against it.
It's your line, Gav. We're good at nothing.
No,
We are good at nothing.
But the thing is, there's
Like, I
many
wouldn't even
ways
say
to
they're any
skin a
good.
cat, right?
I
Like,
wouldn't-
so
I
yes, we're good at nothing, but
I wouldn't
we
even
end
say
up
they're
in the
good at
same
drinking
position.
points.
I think the answer to your question is in 22, 23 that we were good at something and we knew what we needed to fix. What we're sitting here now talking for the last 2 days is that we need to fix the whole fucking.
But we sit here. Okay,
We've
so
got good players, yes. We are good. I don't think we're good.
But Kev says
No,
there,
we're
we
not good. We're
Kev
not
says
good.
there, we did it for 3 months. We went on a boring, unbeaten run, and people bitched
we
about it.
did.
And no,
That's
yeah,
the thing. There's
we did. He went more solid, and what he done was he decided this is our problem. We come more solid, right? It was an unbeaten run, but the thing about it is that when you have an unbeaten run, you go perfect. Well, they've won 50, and they've drawn 5. You go fantastic. Look at the unbeaten run we go through. There's so many draws because we.
look at fucking Bournemouth.
because-
They're in Europa League for the same fucking
Yeah,
reason,
but-
and there's draws all over the place.
There is draws, but what I'm saying is, but we're not Bournemouth. If we want that, let's go and be Bournemouth. Let's go and be Bournemouth, right? The thing here is that the thing for me is that when you go and you are Liverpool Football Club as champions, right? Even with all the circumstances you have, I want to see that team, because of all the circumstances and anything that's happened, pick a way of playing and stick to it. And honestly, you come out with way more credit. Because look, we can all make the argument for and against what we think has happened. We can all make an argument about for and against Arne Slot and what he's done this season. But I'm promising you, if you think someone's going to come into that chat and tell me what way Liverpool are trying to play, they're fucking spoofing you. Right? They're fucking spoofing you. There's no way you can tell me what Liverpool's plan is here. Not even in case of I'm going to sit back or I'm going to go all out attack because I can't get this midfield to turn. And if these lads up front have enough pace, let's make the pitch smaller and let them work that magic in there. Because you know Salah, little areas, he'll find a through ball, he'll find an outside of the foot. Gakpo the same, little touch aside, hit one, whatever. Midfield up high, don't have to worry about it. There's no one, and I'm telling you, nobody can come out and tell me what way Liverpool are playing. And the reason, and this is why he's lost so much of his credit and so much belief in him, is because everyone's going to go, what the fuck are we going to do this week? What's coming? And
Yeah.
and the problem is that if you know what's coming, and people say, well, if you know what's coming, the other team know what's coming. Listen, I tell you, everyone knew what Liverpool were doing in 18, 19, and 19 and 20, and we never changed, and no one could stop us. Nobody could stop us because we're so fucking good at what we're doing. Everyone knows what PSG does. They can't stop them.
From 18-19 to 19-20, you think that we didn't change?
No, what I mean is 18, 19, we played a certain way
outlook and our
for
style
that
of
season.
play.
And the style of play
And no one
was
figured
very
this out.
similar in 19, 20. I actually think we got higher of the pitches we got, right? But what I'm saying is in 18, 19, we had a way of playing. Yes. In 19, 20, we're going to do.
Less than ever in 19.
But yeah, but why were we? Because what
We
happened?
had control.
We went, we scored a goal, and we said, you want to get a goal? And this is going to end up 1-0 or 3-0. You choose. We'll bat you. If you want to play this way, we'll bat you. If you want to play that way, we'll bat you. And the problem here is that we're going out every week. And if you don't know what's going to happen here, like I said, the curve goes down very quickly. Because if you don't know what's going on and you win a game, you go, oh, we won. Oh, great. If you lose, well, no one knows what the fuck's going on here. And it goes down. I think I want them to win every game. I want them to win every game. I want them to win the Eurovision. I want them to win everything, right? The Kentucky Derby. He wants to go on the back of a horse and win that. I'm absolutely fine with that. I just think he's a mammoth task on his hands because of the lack of identity he's produced or put into this team over the last 9 months. That's where I am on it.
Well, it's like I said that, and I'm not sure whether people could hear because Kev said, give me the mic.
I'll tell Kev the fuck off.
No.
Sorry, Kev, money mess.
So what
I don't know why.
No. What I was saying
Obviously, it was
was,
basically get the mic
So
out
you-
of Ashley's hands because no one
you
wants
picked
to
out
fucking
20.
listen to
I
it.
don't mind
You
them.
picked out
It's try
22,
backs.
23. Obviously, Klopp had bad. And let's not forget, there was people calling for Klopp's head at one stage as well.
Shit
But in the
happened
likes
at
of
that
22,
point.
23, in the likes of 2021, when we had drop-offs, you could identify where the issue was, and we knew what we needed to do to fix it?
But we look at it with
Pinpoint what do
rose-colored
we need to
glasses, though.
but what do we
Emmett.
need to fix in this team?
I think you can
What
see
one
it.
area?
We need fucking wingers with pace.
So just wingers.
I'm saying that that's probably that's the biggest area that we need. Absolutely. The same way that if you looked back then, you'd say, oh, well, like we have no fucking center backs.
Yeah, but my point on this is that if you have wingers, sorry, Emma, sorry, Kev. My point on this is that you can sign 2 wingers with loads of pace. That's fantastic. And going forward, you can say, oh, they have great pace and they run, and that's I'm not knocking that. My thing is that those wingers have to defend.
Of course they do.
All right.
They have to work their fucking bollocks off.
But if they go up there and they go, I'm on the right and he's on the left, and Verts is standing there, and Isaac is standing up there, and they go, what a front four, by the way. Right? If you sign Barcola, Diamande, Verts, and Isaac, you're going, that is fantastic. Makes no fucking difference. Because when you have your fullbacks standing in the back four, and you have 2 lads in midfield, and they're just getting played around until they get up onto the halfway line and then expose us, it makes no difference.
I know, but
You could get Usain
like,
Bolt on his ma playing on the wings,
as if this
and it won't
is
make a
a person
difference.
that has never won the league, though. Like
Yeah.
I understand this is not good enough.
Yeah, but if
He changes in around January, February last year. I think.
Does he though, or
I
does
think
Trent fucking
Go on,
fall
sorry,
off a
Newcastle
cliff?
showed
Sorry,
the blueprint on how to
Does
play.
Trent
against
fall
us
off
in
a
the
fucking
league
cliff?
final.
Does Trent have a hamstring injury and the whole system? I don't know. We digress, but I guess the point I'm trying to say
I need
is,
another point.
I know we do. We actually were very short on this.
Get your bets in now. Actually against Emma outside straightener. I'm back in actually.
I was gonna say she's
Yeah, she's gonna.
Oh,
She's fucking sharpshooter. Fucking Bret Hart's gonna come out now.
no, I'm just curious about kind of how. Yes, we had a shit season, and I guess this is spawned off of, I think it's the Dominic King interview, he's getting a lot of shit for. Basically, he's talking about how this season feels more toxic than any other season has in recent memory for Liverpool, and his argument basically was, we all kind of stand on the exact same page where it's not good enough. We don't like what we're watching. This isn't the Liverpool way. It's not the Liverpool style. It's none of those things. But he sits there and he says, does it serve us to carry that toxicity forward? Does it serve us? Or can we at least try to turn a page here and have a little bit of hope for the future? Or are we going to sit here and continue to kind of tear this guy down?
Oh no, you see, this is the thing. I think you're well in your rights to tear him down as of now. But I think if Arne Slot continued this till October, right? And
He's fucked. He's
correct.
fucked.
But
There's
if Arne Slot come out and went, I was wrong, doesn't have to say that, but internally says I was wrong, signs 4 or 5 players, Liverpool come out like a fucking blue arse fly next season, and it's like high press, bum, 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 pass, move it fast. We've attacking fast wingers. Verts is going, brilliant, give me the ball, because these boys can run everywhere. Brilliant. The fullbacks are like, I can push on. Yeah, 100%. These lads will cover you. 2 centre-backs. 2 centre-backs are like, yeah, go and attack. We love playing 2-on-2. It doesn't matter. If he does that, and he's 7th, in the league come October, I still think I go, stick with him. Because you know what? I can see what he's doing.
Players to do that and give him a chance. Should we do that as fans?
I'll absolutely give him the players. That's why I asked you about 5 or 6 players at the start. My biggest issue in it all is getting the buy-in off the players that are currently there. And listen, if anyone out there is in their house or on the internet wanting Arne Slot to do badly, I want him to win every game. My worry here is that I think he's created too many bad scenarios for himself or bad situations for himself that it'll feel like he's putting out fires for quite a long time.
Are we not setting him up for failure?
Sorry,
I promise I will let you speak. I swear to God. Are we not setting him up for failure by saying that, like, if you don't win the first 10 games of the season, you're fucked?
No, I think we're setting him up. What it will do is, if the club want to back this manager, I think what they do is they extend his contract. They come out and they strongly back him and say, listen, last season there was mistakes made, but we believe the signings we made last year, fully fit, absolutely fine. We're going to go with that. We're going to add to the squad because of departures. what we need to strengthen. And here is to turn Liverpool back into that it has been, or at the force has been. And you know what? That's everyone's plan. So you're not setting anyone up for you're not setting anyone up for failure there. What he's done is I think he may have set himself up for failure in terms of the decisions he made, the wording he uses for stuff, right? And then the way he sets his football team out to play. I think part of it looks like he was trying to play a game and go, well, I'll just play like this, and then I can just say, well, what's the problem here? I honestly think he set himself in a very awkward situation. I think it's really hard for him to get out of that. But listen, if I'm sitting here with you having a point in October and Liverpool are top of the league, I'm fucking delighted for Arne Slot. I'm delighted for everyone.
It could
And I
be
go, do you know what?
galvanizing. I know it's a very, very small percentage, but it could be galvanizing.
He needs to take accountability. He's taken no accountability whatsoever. He doesn't hear boos. And he
does, but he thinks
he hears them, but he thinks it's for somebody else. Yeah, so
thinks
yeah,
it's the F.
yeah. But I think that, and it kind of nearly goes full circle back to how we started this conversation. Is how does he turn it around? And it needs to start with taking accountability. And to now, he has not taken any accountability whatsoever. And you're saying there that the club should come. I don't know, as you said it, they should come out and say, well, like, we believe in this project. It shouldn't be them that's coming out and saying it. It should be him that's coming out and saying, look,
no, in fairness,
we,
to him,
we believe in this.
In fairness to him, he has said,
I can turn it around.
I can turn it around. He's come out and said, this is an issue, that's an issue, that's an issue, which can come across as excuses, but that's him saying it. And in fairness, again, he said, look, we're going to have some new personnel the summer we plan to have. So he has put it out there.
He's put it out there how he's going to fix it, but he's not taking accountability for how he broke it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Anyway, we better go because this is getting good.
Yeah, and I've no point
That's
in front
okay.
of me, by the way.
Well,
so I'm going to go.
Well, you've no drinking food. We're definitely
so
going.
Bye, love you all.
Go and get a few points there. I'm a fair play to you. Well done, Kev. Great.
Well done, Kev. Happy birthday to Emmett.
Anyway, happy birthday, especially on your birthday. Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Right, we're gonna go. I'm gonna do my best to stop this show. Thanks a million for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, all that nonsense. Check out our Patreon as well. The link is in the description. And yeah, we'll be back.
Don't shit on me because I'm just playing devil's advocate. I understand, please.
Don't be explaining yourself. But no, I would say we're not going to be back tomorrow. Traveling home tonight, stuff to do. But we're going to keep you in shows as much as we can for the whole summer, talking as much as we possibly can. Anyway, that has been it. Thanks a million to Ashley. Thanks a million to Emma on his birthday. I've been Gav. We talk to you in a bit. Over now. Oh God.